Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Trekyards. I am the Dauntless, Captain Foley.
And I'm Arcturus. That's my secret name. I've been holding on to it for years. There you go. That was a curveball, Stuart. Like the episode threw us, you threw me one, and I had very little to retort back. Yes, we're talking about the half-season finale of Prodigy Season 1, where, yes, and it's obviously full spoilers, guys, at the end, those last sort of 30 seconds, just like at the end of Lower Decks and Picard and such, a big thing happens. It kind of tease us for the next time, which will be months away, I guess. But the first picture, Stuart, it almost felt like I was watching Voyager for a second. You know, here's Janeway, and then all of a sudden, bump, there's another Janeway with the same hair. And this is about the exterior of the ship today, though. But just a little, and it's fun because she's not yet old, future Janeway, because she's only got a little bit of white hair. That's not intentional at all.
Yeah, like you said, this is about the exterior of the ship today, so we'll talk about the bridge and the other things in other breakdown videos, so make sure you're subscribed. Hit that like button now.
But we got Janeway, and as soon as this happened, I was like, that's a Dauntless bridge. Instantly I clocked it. And I was like, okay. Did you get it straight away?
No, I actually thought it was like the Prometheus bridge or something, because it's such a weird design.
Oof, very different from Prometheus, but I like the thinking. No, I was like, no, then they wouldn't do the no, they wouldn't. They wouldn't. Well, the next shot is this thingy that appeared in Voyager, Hope and Fear. One of my more favourite end of season finales, where it's a single episode, but introduced a brand new Federation ship, which was sent by Starfleet using new technology, Slipstream in fact, to get them home. The ship itself was small and fast, kind of like the Protostar, and it almost looks like Protostar as well. Interesting. Like vaguely anyway, like pointy. And it was meant to get the whole crew over, be able to leave Voyager in the Alpha Quadrant, and it was really a plan by a guy named Arcturus, whose planet was destroyed by the Borg because of Janeway, because of their fight with 8472. And so he found some Voyager information, sort of converted the ship to look like the Dauntless, at least a paint job, if anything, made the exterior, repainted that as well with a clever hollow camouflage, and then was going to trick them by being on the Dauntless and then transform or slipstream straight into the Borg and assimilate them as revenge. That was the plan. And then all of a sudden, Stuart, the next shot happens, and this is the two sort of noteworthy angles. This thing appears, and not only is it clearly inspired by, but and we'll have comparisons in a moment, but it is actually A/the Dauntless. That was a surprise. We'll go into comparisons in a minute. Stuart, first reactions when you saw the outside, etc., etc.
I saw the name and I'm like, no. And then I saw the rest of the ship, because as anybody that follows Trekyards knows, I do not like this design. And this doesn't even make any sense that Federation would have one, because, like you said, it was Arcturus's ship, a different ship that was made to look Federation-y. So I don't know why they would have it, but anyway, I was not impressed, and I don't know. They could have picked so many other ships. Well, maybe this one is going to be used because of the slipstream drive. Like maybe that's a special propulsion system on this thing. I don't know, and that's why I was out looking for the Protostar, because they know the Protostar can get pretty far. So
can get proto far.
Yeah, I'm not super jazzed about it. As soon as I saw it too, I thought, oh, Sammy was just gonna love this.
It's a real good time at the end for me. I mean, I instantly I'm like, okay, well it's because I know the design quite well. We've done in Trekyards, I've done a few things with it. I recognise some of the details straight away, but clearly very different. And it isn't obviously the same ship, because as you say, the same ship is not contextually a ship that can be. But it is very similar, very inspired, and very bold of them. It's more confusing really that the bridge is identical, and we'll get into that later. It's really well done. That's more of a surprise, the whole thing. But there's obviously time-wime, alternate reality shenanigans. But let's just do direct comparisons to get those out of the way. The first shot, though, is the studio model of the Dauntless, obviously on the right, and the other. Now, one thing to note, they did do originally a silver version of the ship. Brandon McDougall, who modelled it, because it was meant to be a Starfleet ship, and that was the brief. But then at the end, the producer said, make it copper or a brownie, as a little hint to the audience. So there is a silver version that was not used. I chose to go with the original version just for clarity, so no one's thinking, what did you do here? But already, and I was trying to match the angle, already just the amount of depth this thing is much, much thinner and longer. They don't even match at all. But yet the details are very similar. So talk me through what you think of this and what you see.
Well, I thought a lot of the details were different. I mean, you can tell here, like you said, thinner. I mean, the navigation light is pushed back a bit. There's no forward deflector type deal. The escape pods aren't where are supposed to be. So it's actually quite different. The general shape's the same from a distance, but I can't see any similarities here, honestly.
I mean, the forward tip is also black. It's got a forward red blinky, which is great. It has got a forward indent cutout with the same vague black and white silhouette. It's just hard to see, but there's a cutout at the front as well. And it might be of a slightly more angle. I didn't quite match. I like that you've got the escape pods on the right, which are now just RCS thrusters. You've got the exact same, almost exact same black plate detail, now just, rather than escape pods, RCS thrusters, which is great. You know, those are the main things, but the shape and it's they took it as very direct inspiration, just proto-starred it in essence, because the plating is very similar. What do you think of the new registry and how that vibes? Because it's, you know, an NCC. It's now an official commissioned ship.
Well, first of all, the NCC is not centered, which really bothers me a lot. But anyway, and I think you just haven't quite matched the angle here, because I think the camera is like tilted down a bit and forward. That's why that navigation light looks like it's further back on the other one. If you just angled it differently, I think it would change the shape even a bit. But anyway.
Yeah, and I'll do a follow-up render now to see if we've done that. But, you know, I was just trying to go, because it does just kind of go on the top, but yes.
I don't know. I like the registry of the original one better, like the way it's laid out. I don't like that it's NX01A. This was before Enterprise.
But it's meant to be a trick. So it's fun. It's an obviously silly registry.
Yeah.
Which is why I like it.
It just makes no sense that this would exist ever.
I'm just intrigued. I mean, the registry is so much higher. That's a pretty darn high registry. So it's definitely you know, a newish commission. But to be Dauntless as well, that's a really bold choice by the producers. Because it'd be fine if it was another class, same-ish ship thing, but that says a lot of shenanigans. The next view, though, I mean, this is where I was disappointed more so, because it is not the same ship. As soon as you do this, it is not the same ship.
Wow, yeah.
It's inspired by, but it's not the same ship. None of the shapes match. Yet it has the details, and yes, it is about to stretch to go into warp, but this is before that stretch. I even went to a slightly more wide angle to try and match it, but no, very different proportioned. So, very, very different. And yet, you can see the inspired, they've sort of said, that piece is there, but they've really shifted it.
See, I didn't remember specifically how it looked, so this is amazing to see. I didn't think that the back of the saucer part was indented like that, so that looked weird to me. But I assumed the rest was kind of the same, but it's actually quite different here.
It's almost entirely different, yet almost entirely the same. And this isn't a case of animated changing, because we've seen the galaxy is identical, Bird of Prey very, very similar. This is an aesthetically different thing. But it does have the shuttle bay. It does have it has red glowing pennants, maybe. I don't know. The nacelles are just different. If something has 3 red blinkies on the nacelles, they're all red blinkies for some reason. They've kind of forgotten that it's meant to be red and green, which is a common thing with New Trek, because Lower Decks also has non-correct blinkies, and we learned by the team they just didn't fix it. It's not an intentional thing, they just didn't fix it yet. Come on, guys, please. When we see Dauntless in season 1.2, give it proper blinkies, because you don't have red blinkies on all blinkies. That's just a mistake.
Yeah, I want an explanation in the show, though, about this ship. Like, this is the fastest, newest experimental drive we have, the best thing to keep up or find the Protostar. Not quite as good as the Protostar, maybe, but, you know, something that can go a little bit further, stretch a little bit further. I want that explanation in the show. I'm not convinced we're going to get it, and I'm not sure it's even going to be talked about what kind of ship this is. So, glad we're here.
Yeah, whereas I think the exact opposite. And I'm super intrigued by this, because this and the bridge say a giant story of intrigue here. Because, you know, the very fact that we see this badge tells us it's not a future story, it's an alternate future story, which gives them absolute carte blanche. We see Endgame, we see all good things, we see Visitor. Those things happened and then unhappened. Which means this timeline happened and then unhappened. So this is whatever the hell they want it to be. You know, Picard doesn't have to have happened. Nemesis doesn't have to have happened. Anything can happen in between, which is fantastic. And so maybe the Dauntless was never, in their reality, never a Federation star, never an alien one or whatever. Or they did find it, and more likely, when they got back to Starfleet, they said, let's build a ship that's got slipstream. Or it has to be, because they have full scans of the Dauntless. I mean, they have complete scans. They have all of the technical stuff. They download the database as well. So they have the ability to make a Dauntless if they really want to. And they can also slipstream the Voyager. So they presumably would have said, when they got back in this timeline, said, hey, that's a good plan. Let's make slipstream ships. Maybe the slipstream doesn't work. Who knows? But they still made this version, which has a different priority of what's there. I don't know why it's massively changed. I don't know what that back grille cutout, which doesn't look particularly nice to me, does. Who knows? Maybe this is also an experimental drive ship like the Protostar, because the window scale is pretty small. Dauntless isn't a big ship. It, in fact, is probably very similar in scale, just differently proportioned, because it had one holodeck and not much room. So maybe very much, like you say, this was a step 2 Protostar, but then he went to warp, not slipstream. So you can't catch him at warp, but you can catch him at slipstream. But
the real question will be if we see the engine room and it's got a little plasma.
Yes. Well, I mean, we'll talk about that later. But in the interior, we see a warp core, not a slipstream drive, in an LCARS. So not to say the other one can't go warp, it obviously can. They can do both. But I would assume this is a warp advanced fast ship. Maybe even the first proto drive ship. Maybe that engine thing maybe that grille's a booster. Maybe this is version 1. Maybe they retrofitted one of their Dauntless class variants. Whatever. But the thing is, if you have schematics of this mega advanced ship that can do stuff no ship you can do, I mean, because you can actually see in the front it has what appears to be the same wraparound deflector. So presumably it does have that same piece. It's very minimal, but looks like it's there. Why wouldn't you make your own Starfleet version? Because it's slipstream super useful. Maybe it fails, maybe you get to... So you still have the ship, and then since Chakotay stayed with the Protostar, these guys obviously got off the ship. Maybe it's the closest ship in range. Maybe it's the ship that's already in the Delta Quadrant, They clearly were able to scan the ship, and I don't think you can scan it from a quadrant away. Unless you're Discovery Season 2, and that you can scan outside the universe, or galaxy. With the Red Angel suit, but still. But no, really exciting. It's an alternate universe from the future Dauntless variant hybrid. That's weird. That's cool. Another aborted reality means unlimited potential. Give or take. Depends when you change the timeline from. And it makes sense. Not all... how many people go back and change time and then stay in the present? Well, how many other we haven't seen? So maybe there are remnants of people all over the place. Loads of versions of people that happen to have come from alternate timelines. But just what a symbology of, we're going to keep respecting the alternate universe tradition. It's like, yeah. Who needs a Picard comm badge when you have an alternate universe future comm badge? So yeah, well excited, because it's a confusing, interesting, well thought out piece of media, because you don't have this much thought unless you're super into it,
Yeah, well, like I said, just weird explanations for it. So. I want to hear your thoughts, though, guys, what you think about the Dauntless design in general. We do have a video out about it, so if you want to look that up, we have talked about this quite extensively. I think we even had Rick Sternbach talking about it at one point. So go check those videos out, and also don't forget to let us know in the comments what you think. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and join us for lives where we have discussions like this where you can chime in real time with a super chat and help out the channel as well. So if you want to be notified of that, click that notification bell icon so you don't miss that.
And for those of you that thought they were just the same ship, that's why you have Trekyards, because that's what we're here for. Unique place of that sort of stuff. So if you can support what we do to do more things, more renders, more comparisons, as we want to keep doing, then we do that financial support, as you said, via Super Chats, really great on the lives, or the monthly ways via Patreon, or joining the channel. Both are really important ways, because we need a certain amount to keep going, and we just about manage that. But if you can help us be more comfortable with that, then we can do more good content and more stuff that's just really detailed and breakdowny that you guys want to see, that we want to see and do. If you can, please do. If you just want to do a one-time donation, PayPal is a great way. Trekyards@hotmail.com, that is the email, or buy merch down below, just for the fun of it, really. We don't necessarily get much money from it, but it's fun to see.
So until next time, guys, he is Commander Cockings.
He is Captain Foley.
And we are the Dauntless Trekyards.
Alternate edition.
Oh.
Right,
hologram?
Yeah! That would work so well. Bye, guys.
Hit him in the